Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In this video today we're checking out top 8 culture shocks about Australia. So I kind of like doing video reactions to Australia, so it's a place I want to go to one day. So let's get right into the video for today. And go check out the original creator called That Johnson Live down in the description down below if you happen to enjoy this video. But let's find out about 8 culture shocks.
Right, let's give this a go. So you've heard about the deadly animals, scorching sun, impossible isolation. What was the other one? And sausage and bread, and you're still thinking that you want to come to the land down under, then prepare yourself for
I mean, sausage and bread is actually really nice. Like, that is a good combo.
These weird Australian culture shocks. G'day guys, my name's Ross, and I moved with my family to Australia during a global pandemic. Now I love living in Australia, but when we first moved over here, it was a little bit weird. Now to stop things being so weird for you when you make the move, these are our top 8 culture shocks when moving to Australia. Australians love their sport, but unless you're from Australia, sometimes the sport is a little bit strange.
Yeah, they have
For example,
AFL over there.
Football isn't football. And I'm not really talking about soccer, or am I? It really freaks me out to say the word soccer. For me, I know what football is. And for Australians, they also know what football is. But when you move to Australia,
yeah, I did a reaction about AFL before. It looks like a very interesting sport, and it looks very hard to play though, but it definitely looks very entertaining to watch.
Add yourself to the fact that you're now probably going to follow the minority sport, and also need a special subscription just to be able to watch it. Football in Australia can mean many things. Football for me means soccer.
Yeah.
But football in Queensland means rugby league. And if you come from one of the southern states like Victoria or South Australia, then football can mean AFL. And I still don't understand how that game works, but I want to learn. You can still have a beer at an AFL game, right? But if you come from the UK like me, and you still want to watch your beloved football, then you're going to have to become a social hermit, bound to the wee hours
because
of
the time
just
zones.
to watch your darling Premier League. If you don't like it, then take up one of the other many forms of football. And if you're American, well, they also kind of play baseball and stuff too, but probably not your form of football. Be like too hot in all the pads and stuff. Or imagine getting a spider in your helmet.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
The
That is a
second shock that we
nightmare.
had coming from the anti-social rest of the world is the fact that in Australia, people are actually friendly to you. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, people are friendly in other parts of the world, but Australians are kind of like this weird level of friendly. People greet you on the street. Neighbours come up to your house and welcome you to the neighbourhood. People actually offer you help. Now for me, being the antisocial hermit that I am watching my Premier League, people being friendly to me was a little bit weird. And
Yeah, definitely. If you're from London especially, that's like a very weird thing. I feel like everyone's cold. No, most people aren't friendly over here. I mean, people, obviously, if you're friends with them, but strangers, that's definitely a rare occurrence. So this should be quite interesting.
just took a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
But when it happens to you in Australia, it really does make you realise how nice the world can be. Now, hey, you're going to think to yourself, people around the world are nice, and lots of them are. And you normally notice it when you're on holiday. Maybe it's the weather that makes people happier.
That could be a good
Because I can
point.
tell you that the dreary darkness of winter kind of makes people the opposite. To be honest, this is one of the best culture shocks of Australia. Calling all social recluses out there. If you move to Australia, it's going to make you a better person. No one wants this social awkwardness or unfriendly banter. Australians are genuinely friendly, unless they don't like you. But there's no beating around the bush. I'll tell you straight. Now, coming from the northern hemisphere on the other side of the world, having a cold Christmas becomes a rite of passage. But here, cold Christmases? Welcome to the heat, my friend. Christmas in summer.
See, I do have to say, I've heard about this. This has to be so weird. Because I like, when it's Christmas time, I actually really like the cold for Christmas. It just puts me in that mood. And it's like you have hot chocolate. You kind of relax. It's just more cozy. So this is definitely going to be a culture shock.
It's hot, really hot. If you don't have aircon, you're gonna struggle. It's not dark. You and your family aren't just confined to
this
one
be
room,
so
watching
weird.
each other open presents you probably didn't even want. Wishing that the TV was on so that you wouldn't have to make awkward conversation with family members who you hardly ever see apart from the festive time. Wondering to yourself, is it too early to start drinking yet? The fact is that with Christmas in Australia, you get to take all of the good bits of Christmas, like presents and spending time with family that you actually want to spend time with, and then add all the good things of summer, like going to the beach, spending time in the pool, having a barbecue in the sunshine. Don't hang on.
See, there are definitely some positives for this though, but I definitely feel that would be a huge culture shock. But if you're from Australia, you're probably used to it. But what's it like watching Christmas movies? Because that must be a bit weird, because I don't know if there's any Australian Christmas movies, but I'd definitely be down to check them out. They would be very interesting to see.
Onto your old traditions of Christmas, like your roast turkey.
Because snow and cold is like part of Christmas for me.
Do hang on to them, but don't whinge that you're doing it in the heat. Have a barbecue instead.
Barbecue would be nice.
It's a potato bake. Why did we not have these in England? Or if we did, I never had one. They're
I've never had
gorgeous. Make new traditions and embrace the fact that Christmas in summer is now your new life. Now, coming from cosmopolitan Europe, I was kind of used to this next one because people on the continent sometimes like to have a siesta.
Oh yeah,
Well,
like
at least
in
they
Spain.
opened up the shops and stuff again. Now, I know that this can catch out the average Brit visiting Marbella for the first time and wondering why in the middle of the day all the shops are shut. But in Australia, it goes to another extreme and shops just shut early. Want to get a coffee after 4 p.m? Yeah, nah. Don't be crazy. Why would you need that much caffeine in your system?
Oh no, this would annoy me. I hate the fact that shops close too early now. Like, we used to have 24-hour shops, and then COVID kind of ruined that. That actually annoys me when shops close too early, so this one would affect me a lot.
At night. It's going to go dark in a couple of hours. Want a takeaway after 9 p.m. on a Friday? Well, you better live in the city centre. Ain't no one going to
Oh,
work
okay, if you
after
live in
9
a city,
PM
it's
the
different,
burbs.
okay.
You crazy? Unless you're in the major cities, things in Australia are rarely 24 hours. People have a life. They don't want to sit there waiting in a restaurant or a shop for your convenience. Don't be so selfish. Why aren't things so convenient? Well, it turns out people don't actually want to work all the time. And you need to respect that. Get a bit more organised. Enjoy it.
See, this is something I feel is like difficult because let's say you work a 9 to 5 and you only have the weekends and you may want to relax one of those days. So you don't really have much time to actually do stuff. And if shops close early, it makes it even harder. So I don't know, this would definitely be a huge culture shock. But like you said, if you live in a city, you're probably going to be fine. And I live in London, which is a huge city. And yeah, so I'm kind of used to that, I guess. Like shops being open late, some being 24 hours. So yeah, I like that the most.
A night in. Realise that thing you think you need, you probably don't need right now. I'm sorry that the shop's shut early, but if you don't have that thing you want right now, is the world going to end? Probably not.
That's a good
and if it was that
point.
important, you wouldn't have forgotten it, right? And this culture shock extends into the next one. And it's the work culture. And weirdly enough, most Australians don't like to work. I mean, they do.
I can relate to that.
That's a massively sweeping statement. But fortunately for people who live here, we don't live to work. Working to live is an incredibly emancipating feeling. What's the point in going to work all day to earn money to then not have the time to spend
that's
it?
a good,
I don't
that's
want
a
to live
good
a life
outlook.
like that, do you? Especially when you have all of this fantastic weather and beautiful scenery to spend it in. Except when it's a La Nina year. Like, the scenery's still there, but the weather's still a bit crap, and it has been for the last 2 years. Fortunately for most Australians, this laissez-faire attitude to work extends to lots of different industries. If you're sick of the daily grind in your job, then come to Australia, and you can do the same thing but not work as hard. Wouldn't we all want to just do that? But sometimes this incredibly laid-back nature can lend
I
itself
feel that's
to some
very good.
slightly
That's a
weird
massive
slash
positive.
potentially unsafe habits. Barefoot in public? That one takes a little bit of getting
That's
used to.
weird.
Especially living up here in the sunshine state of Queensland, seeing people go barefoot in your local Coles can be pretty much a daily occurrence. Lots of people do it, especially children. It's like they've got an allergy to shoes or thongs. Just put some thongs on, mate.
When you get dirt on
Protect
your feet and
yourself.
maybe
Now, for us
step on
foreigners
something,
who are
though.
used to wearing shoes anyway just to keep our toes warm, seeing people go barefoot in public and it's not the beach or a swimming pool can be a little bit weird. But actually, rather than criticising or wondering if they've got asbestos in the soles of their feet, don't criticise. Join them. Everyone talks about that feeling where you can spread your toes.
I mean,
in the
I'd
sand
try it,
and
but
how
I can't
liberating
imagine it
can
being
be.
enjoyable.
Well, just go barefoot in public, mate. You get that feeling all the time. Except when it's the middle of summer and you step on that black tarmac.
No.
Maybe put your thongs on then. Now, if you thought going barefoot in public was rather informal or slightly offensive, then wait until the average Australian speaks to you. Don't get me wrong, most of them are educated, eloquent individuals. But the average Aussie does love a swear. I even do it on the radio. The first time I heard shit on the radio in the morning, I was wondering if my driving was okay or if someone was shouting at me in traffic. No, it was the person on the radio. I've even heard them drop the odd wanker, which can be wholly confusing to some of the people watching this that don't even know what a wanker is.
Yeah,
They
we
can
know
say
what that is in
on
the United
radio.
Kingdom.
Yes, I'm cursy enough to bleep wanker on my videos. What a beautiful country we live in. Now, don't get me wrong, they don't go for the hardcore stuff like or bugger. Wait, bugger isn't really that bad, is it?
Yeah,
I'll
that's
bugger
not
this
that
up.
bad.
But most Australians will drop the C-bomb at you as a term of endearment. How's it going? I know that for lots of people when they watch Game of Thrones, dropping the C-bomb was a big taboo. And if you don't like that word, sorry, Australia might not be for you. Because in Australia, lots of people like to swear and everyone's So you better get used to it. I don't think I've ever used that many bleeps in a video
See, honestly, I'm not really offended by swearing. I don't really care, so that wouldn't really affect me.
before. I really hope I bleeped all of those out. Now,
Like,
the
it's just
last one
words,
is
so
something that's
I don't really
awesome,
mind.
but also one of my little pet peeves. In Australia, they have some of the best containers for sauce in those little foldy things that just squeeze out perfectly.
Okay.
What's an invention? But in Australia, if you want the privilege of sauce, you have to pay for it. Want some tomato sauce, mate?
that annoys
could be
me.
15 cents, please.
No, I
or
hate
30
that.
cents if you want two. Because they're like really small packets. Now, don't get me wrong, not everywhere does charge for sauce. Thank the Lord. But lots of places do. And it's pretty common practice. If you like my wife,
Is that a culture shock though? I know a lot of restaurants and places here that charge for sauce, but it's always annoying when it happens. Like some places give you free sauce, some do charge extra. So I think it kind of depends which shop you go to, which place you get food from, I
just loves
guess.
to slather everything in tomato ketchup. They're not only calling it ketchup is going to be weird in Australia, because it's tomato sauce, as I've been told many times when I get that confusing look asking for ketchup. But
Oh, I asked
going
for
to
ketchup.
America and having to pay for something and then add on the sales tax. If you want sauce, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. But the good thing is we don't have to tip, because everyone gets a fair wage. And
That's
Medicare,
good. That's like
and
the
gun
United
laws.
Kingdom.
What a beautiful country Australia is. Now, if you're thinking of moving to Australia and you don't want to live in Melbourne or Sydney, and you think that like us, Brisbane could be the place for you, then watch this video to wonder if Brisbane is really worth going to.
Okay, so I really like that video. I mean, some of the culture shocks, I mean, the shops closing early would definitely be very annoying. But I also feel like Christmas like it being warm during Christmas definitely is a weird thing. But I feel it's kind of cool as well. I'd definitely be interested if there's any Australian Christmas movies, because that's like probably the biggest culture shock on the list, I would say. And paying for sauce, that don't seem too bad. Barefoot in public, that is a bit weird, but I feel like I would try it out, but I can't imagine it being good because like you know when your shoes break, and I've been barefoot before and it was just like not good at all. The shops closing early is not good, but I like the laid back work culture. So I like the laid back work culture. I like the fact that people are more friendly. There's definitely a lot of benefits, but definitely some things that would take getting used to. So if you guys want more reaction videos like this, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, everyone.